चैतन्यमनोभीष्टं स्थापितं येन भूतले स्वयं रूपा कदा मह्यं ददाति स्वपदान्तिकं वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरो श्रीयुतापदकमलं श्रीगुरुं वैष्णवांश श्रीरूपं सागजातां सहगना रघुनाथान्वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपादान् सहगना ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितांश नमो विष्णुपादाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्ता स्वामिनिति नामिने नमस्ते सारस्वती देवे गौरवाणी प्रचारिणे निर्विशेष शून्यवादी पाश्चात्य देशतारिणे जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभो नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौरभक्तवृंद हरे कृष्णा 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 हरे 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 राम 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 हरे हरे. Bhagavad Gita, we are reading Bhagavad Gita, chapter 5th, sloka number 12. Yuktaha karma phalam tektva shantim apnoti naistikim ayuktaha kamakarena phale sakto निबध्यते युक्तः कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा शान्तिम् आप्नोति नैष्टिकीम् अयुक्तकामकारेण फलोऽसक्तो निबध्यते युक्तः कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा शांतिम आपनोति नैष्टिकीम अयुक्ता कामकारेण फलोऽसक्तो निबध्यते युक्तः कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा शांतिम आपनोति नैष्टिकीम अयुक्तः कामकारेण फले सक्तो निबध्यते. Okay. युक्ता कर्म फलं त्यक्त्वा okay, word to word meaning. Yuktaha, one who is engaged in devotional service. Karma phalam, the results of all activities. Tektva, giving up. Shantim, perfect peace. Apnoti, achieves. Naistikim, unflinching. Ayuktaha, one who is not in Krishna consciousness. Kamakarena, for enjoying the result of work. Phale, in the result. Saktaha, attached. Nibadhyate, entangled. Here sloka is very simple. Yuktaha karma phalam tektva shanti apnoti. Yuktaha means, what is the meaning of yukta? Engage. When you engage in fruity activities, and means when you engage in the devotional service by giving them the fruits of the karma, then you will achieve peace. Here ayukta. Ayukta means opposite of yuktaha. If you don't engage in Krishna consciousness and you are attached to the fruits of the activity, then you are entangled. The translation, the steadily devoted soul attains unadulterated peace because he offers the result of all his activities to me. Whereas a person who is not in union with the divine, who is greedy for the fruits of his labor, becomes entangled. Purport. The difference between a person in Krishna consciousness and a person in bodily consciousness is that the former is attached to Krishna, whereas the latter is attached to the results of his activities. The person who is attached to Krishna and works for him only is certainly a liberated person. For him means for Krishna, for the sake of Krishna. A liberated person. And he has no anxiety over the results of his work. In the Bhagavatam, the cause of anxiety over the result of an activity is explained as being once functioning in the conception of duality, that is, without knowledge of absolute truth. Krishna is the supreme absolute truth, the personality of Godhead. In Krishna consciousness, there is no duality. All that exists is a product of Krishna's energy, and Krishna is all good. Therefore, activities in Krishna consciousness are on the absolute plane. They are transcendental and have no material effect. One is therefore filled with peace in Krishna consciousness, but one who is entangled in profit calculation for sense gratification cannot have that peace. This is the secret of Krishna consciousness. Krishna consciousness realization that there is no existence besides Krishna is the platform of peace and fearlessness. Okay, we will discuss from first sloka, then we will come to up to 12th. Here, in the chapter 5th, Arjuna is asking a question. Sannyasam karmanam Krishna punaryogam cha samshasi yashreya yetar yogam tanme bruhi sunishchitam. Here, Arjuna is asking, previously in the chapter 4, Krishna spoke about sannyasam and karma also. Now, he told to do sannyas and at the same time do the activity, fight the war. But here Arjuna got confused and he was asking, between these two activities, which one I have to do? You definitely tell which one I supposed to do, whether sannyasa or karmanam. Actually, where in which sloka the Krishna has spoken about sannyasam and karmanam? In chapter 4, verse 41. Here in 41, chapter 4. The continuation for chapter 5 is from sloka 41. Can you open? Sloka 41 and 42. Here 41 sloka is like this. Yoga sannyasta karmanam jnana sanchitta samshayam atmavantam na karmani nibaddanti dhananjaya. Translation: one who acts in devotional service, renouncing the fruits of his action, and whose doubts have been destroyed by transcendental knowledge, he is situated factually in the self. Thus, he is not bound the reactions of work, O conqueror of reach. What he is telling here? Do sannyas. In 41 is Krishna is telling to Arjuna, do sannyas. But immediate sloka 42, what Krishna is saying? Tasmat jnanam sambhutam hurstam gnanasinatmanah chitvainam samshayam yogam attishto uttishta bharata. Therefore, the doubt which have arisen in your heart, out of ignorance should be slashed by the weapon of knowledge. Armed with yoga, O Bharata, stand and fight. Now he is telling, you fight. Here he is telling you do sannyas, and here next immediate sloka is telling you fight. Fight means for whom he is fighting? Who is telling to fight? Krishna is telling Arjuna to fight. He has to work for Krishna. Then it is karma yoga. He is telling do sannyas and the same time karma yoga. It is Arjuna felt it is contradicting. Which one I have to do? Then we'll see. Okay. Here, there is a difference between here Krishna is telling what Krishna actually meant to Arjuna. He is telling that sannyas of karma, like don't give up the activity, but be a sannyasi in karma. You perform the activity but detached. There is a difference between sannyas of karma, sannyas in karma. Sannyas of karma means he is just giving activities and he is renouncing. But what Krishna meant is you do the activity but be detached. That is sannyas in karma. And even in next verse, even in second verse also, okay. Even second verse, sannyasam karma yogancha nishreyasa kara ubho tayostu karma sannyasat karma yogo vishishate. Now Krishna is telling out of sannyas, what do you have to do? Karma yoga. You perform karma yoga. Karma yoga means perform activities for the pleasure of Krishna. That is karma yoga. And here Prabhupada writes about karma kanda. As long as one is in bodily consciousness, his only duty is to enjoy, to do sense gratification. And Krishna is telling that you perform karma yoga. Out of sannyas, you do karma yoga. And next verse, 12th is telling, ज्ञेय नित्य सन्यासी वो यो न द्वेष्टि न कांक्षति निर्द्वंदो ही महाबाहो सुखम बंधात प्रमुच्यते. Like here Prabhupada also will discuss about that how a sannyasi, false sannyasi and real sannyasi. We discuss between who is a false sannyasi and who is a real sannyasi. False sannyasi means just by wearing a dress is not sufficient. Giving the actually a brahmachari and sannyasi. These are the people are supported by householders. They depend on the householders. But Krishna is telling, like actually you may give up dress and you may become a sadhu. But that is not sufficient. But you have to act in Krishna consciousness. And there should not be any na dvesti na kankshati. You should not desire. And not dvesti. You should not hate and desire for any results. Hate means, suppose I like this work, I don't like this. Suppose you may perform some activity, like you may not like that activity, but still you have to do. And sometimes we are after the results of our activity. We should not desire for the result of the activity. We should rather, any activity in Krishna consciousness is purifying the individual soul. We can, that's why a sannyasi is a real sannyasi if we act for the pleasure of the Lord without hate and not wasting na kankshati, without hating and without desiring the results of the work. That is real sannyasi. Not by simply changing the dress is a sannyasi. That's what Krishna is condemning here. Okay. Here Krishna also in 8-9 sloka he says that devotee, they see 8-9 sloka. I'm just reading the translation. A person in the divine consciousness, although engaged in seeing, hearing, teaching, touching, smelling, eating, moving about, sleeping, and breathing, always knows within himself that he actually does nothing at all. Because while speaking, evacuating, receiving, or opening or closing his eyes, he always knows that only the material senses are engaged with their object, that he is aloof from them. What it means? Soul is not doing any activities, is not doing karta. Soul is not karta. What it means? Just like if you cut a tree, for cutting a tree, we use an axe, and the woodcutter uses. But what is the instrument for cutting the tree? Axe is the instrument. Who is initiating the cutting of wood? The person. The woodcutter is initiating, and what is the instrument? Axe. Axe is the instrument. Similarly, in the material world, soul is the initiator. Similarly, like Prakriti is the instrumental cause. The material nature is the instrumental cause, and soul is the initiating cause. Like the person, he is initiating to cut the. He is using axe he is using axe as an instrument to cut the tree. Similarly, Prakriti is the instrument, and the soul is the initiator. It's not that whatever activity the soul is completely responsible. Prakriti is also involved in it, and he says that okay. And we can give one more example. Criminal, police, and judge. If a criminal performs any activities, he is kept in the jail. But what is the police? What he does? He just catches him. His police is like an instrumental cause. And who activate to punish the prisoner? Judge. He gives the punishment. Similarly, just like whatever activity we do, suppose if I want to perform an activity, I decide something. But even in further in future chapter also, Krishna says that if I want to have a desire, I have a desire to perform, I want to become some rich person. But I have the desire, individual soul has the desire to become a rich person. But Paramatma, he is the sanctioner. If I have that particular pious credit in my account, then Paramatma sanctions. If that is not there, then Paramatma will not sanction, no matter how much you struggle to become a rich person. Once if Paramatma sanctions, Prakriti, what it does? It activates. Prakriti, it provides for it facilitates the soul to achieve that particular results. That is the difference between soul, super soul, and Prakriti. Soul desires, Paramatma sanctions, Prakriti facilitates to achieve that particular result. That is the difference, soul and Paramatma. Okay, we'll discuss what Prabhupada is saying. Actually, in the first sloka, Prabhupada is telling how to ask questions. If you have any doubt, like in the case of Arjuna, he was not able to find whether I have to do sannyas or karma. Then immediately he posed the question to Krishna and clarified what he has to do. And then next sloka number 4 and 5, he speaks about devotional service, karma yoga. Like Arjuna says, Krishna says, Arjuna is telling you, you are asking me to engage sometimes in karma yoga and sometimes in sannyas. What I have supposed to do? Then he speaks of Sankhya. Why he is speaking Sankhya? Sankhya also comes under sannyas. What is actually Sankhya? Sankhya means analytical study of material elements. Suppose we see this hand. Hand is made of earth, water, fire. Body is made of earth and water by fire. Then he analyzed whether whether this 5 elements is responsible for my activity. He studies and then he goes further. And then finally he comes to a conclusion, the soul is the actual performer of the activities. That is the analytical study. There are 24 elements. That study of 24 elements is called Sankhya philosophy. And he finally comes to a conclusion that I am not the body, I am the soul. Like whether I am the, like hand, it is made of 5 elements. Whether this is the main thing, no. Then he comes further studies, whether I am this body, no. Then he finally concludes, I am not this body, I am the soul. For him it takes many years to come to that conclusion, I am not the body but the soul. It takes for many years. But Krishna says, the result is same. Final, the result is same. Whether a karma yogi or the analytical study of all these animals, final result is same. But for a Sankhya yogi, it takes very long duration of time to reach that perfection. But whereas a karma yogi, he is a direct path. And ultimately, what is the goal of Sankhya? We have to come to a conclusion, I am not the body, I am the spiritual. We should come to a spiritual conclusion. Then the Sankhya will, then there is a, Sankhya as a, then there is a perfect understanding of Sankhya. Otherwise, there is no use. If simply study on elements, material elements, then there is no use. Finally, we have to come to a conclusion that I am not the body, I am the soul, and the soul is the part and parcel of the Supreme Lord. I have to serve Supreme Lord. Then when one comes to the conclusion, that is the perfection. Otherwise, there is no use of Sankhya. And here Krishna also says that those who find difference between Sankhya and Karma he uses, he is not a Pandita, he is not a learned person. One who discriminates between Sankhya and he says that Sankhya Yogo Pratak Bala Pravadantina Pandita. If he sees difference between Sankhya and Yoga, then he is not a Pandita. Like how? Just like one may be Christian, or if he think that I am Christian, and if he doesn't come to a conclusion that Krishna is the absolute person, have to serve him, then there is no use of following any religion without coming to a conclusion that Krishna is the absolute person. We have to serve. If there is no such understanding, then there is no use. When one comes to a conclusion that, when one comes to a conclusion that Krishna is the absolute truth, then that is the perfect understanding. That should be aim of understanding absolute truth. What is our aim? We should understand the absolute truth. Otherwise, you may be accepting many religions. Unless until we come to a conclusion of absolute truth, then there is no use. And he says, both whatever final result of Sankhya and Yoga is same. But for a Sankhya Yogi, it takes time. But for as a Karma Yogi, it is a direct process. He will achieve the perfection very quickly. Okay. Next, 8-9 is telling merely renouncing of all activities. He is speaking about sannyasi and a householder or grasta. Here Prabhupada writes sannyas. Okay. If a sannyasi doesn't come to a conclusion of serving absolute truth, then his life is misery. Here uses dukkam. Dukkam apnoti. Sannyasastu mahabaho dukkam aptum. If a person, he renounced the worldly activities and he is renounced the all worldly activities, and is like, if he doesn't come to a conclusion, if he doesn't make a relationship with Krishna, if he is not having the Krishna conscious atmosphere, then his life is misery. Whereas a householder, he is not renouncing the world and he is working with an understanding everything belongs to Krishna. I'm just instrument in the hand of Krishna, then that he is more better than a sannyasi who gave up everything. That's what he says. Okay, we should, what we're, like we should, without attachment, we cannot detach material world. To whom we have to attach? If we attach to Krishna, then we can easily detach the material works. Unless until if you are not come to a conclusion of attaching, means if you have attachment, means if you love Krishna and serve Krishna, and by serving you will develop attachment. By doing that, then automatically we give up material worldly activities. That's one. That's why one should not artificially renounce. Like just we should not renounce anything without coming to a conclusion that I have to serve the Supreme Personality Godhead, Krishna. Then there is no value. And Krishna gives an analogy. Just like sun is very far away, but millions of miles away. But still, sun gives sunshine. We receive sunshine. Similarly, Krishna, like whatever manifestation in this material world, these are the energies of Krishna. We should have means we should not like we should see everything in relation with Krishna. We should not say that suppose like whatever we see, mic. When we see in relation with Krishna, this is the, like I can use this in service of Krishna. Though it is a material, when you use in the service, all the material things that are existing in this material world, they are nothing but energy of Krishna. Just like in Bhagavad Gita also Krishna is Rasoham Apsu Kaunteya, water. He says that water is I am the taste of the water. When you see in relation with Krishna, then it is useful. Otherwise, it's not, there is no use. And here Prabhupada writes, when I think I am the enjoyer, when we don't see in relations with Krishna, what will be the result? If I don't see anything in relation with Krishna, then what mentality I want to enjoy? It's like enjoying mentality. Suppose while taking prasad, it is the prasadam of Krishna. I should honor it. I should respect it. Then that is the right consciousness. If we don't see in relationship with Krishna, then we want to enjoy. Then by doing that, we will be bound in this material world. Anything in this material world. If you see anything in relation with Krishna, you will not try to see with an enjoying mentality. And if you don't see with that Krishna conscious perception, then it is a bondage in this material world. Anything, either material, any activity you see. And here also, yoga yukta, Krishna, yoga means connection. You have to connect with whom? We have to connect with Krishna. If you don't see, here Prabhupada gives an example. Just like a pigeon, if he sees a bag of rice on the road, pigeon takes whatever it requires and it goes away. But whereas a man comes and sees that bag of rice, what he does? He carry entire sack of rice to his home, because like he is seeing those things for his enjoyment. When he sees for his enjoyment, then it will become he will be bound in this material world. But whereas if we take whatever needed, whatever necessary for us, just take it and live on that, then there is no bondage. Whatever needed, according to your quota, you live. Don't encroach on others' property. Then you will be safe. Otherwise, you will be entangled in this material world. That is, he is not seeing in connection with Krishna. When you don't see in connection with Krishna, then we try to do full sense gratification. We want to enjoy each and everything that is existing in this material world. Then we will be born in this material world and we have to suffer birth after birth. Even it comes in Ishopanishad also. The example comes from Ishopanishad. And another example is he uses when you do that yoga yukta, when you see everything in relationship with Krishna, we become Vishuddhatma. Our Atma becomes purified. When you see each and every object in this world in relation with Krishna, our soul get purified. That is Vishuddhatma. And further, Krishna speaks about and whatever activity a person in Krishna consciousness does, he doesn't say that I am doing this activity. With my own strength I am doing. Like whenever Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada, says that like, are you living today? Are you living tomorrow? If anyone asks, then Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, he says, what he says? If Krishna willing, I shall go. He doesn't say that I'm doing, a devotee completely depends on the mercy of Krishna. That's what he becomes dependent on the mercy of the Krishna. Like, and Tattvavit, who is Tattvavit? A person who knows that whatever activity we are doing, that we are doing only with the mercy of Krishna. Even a blade of grass cannot go without the sanction of Krishna. Like without the sanction of, just like we discussed about Paramatma. What is the role of Paramatma? Sanctions. Is sanctions. And without the sanction of Krishna, I cannot do any activity. That is Tattvavit. Then one may ask, then why someone is doing bad work and good work? If I am performing bad work, Krishna should not allow that bad work. Why he is doing? Because Krishna has given, he is not the complete, we are not completely dependent. We have independence, but we are not completely dependent. We have minute independence. Just like fan is there. As long as power is there, I can switch off and switch on, and I can regulate the fan. From power station, if power cut is there, what is the use of regulating the fan? I cannot use. Similarly, I have minute independence. As long as power is there, I can control this fan. If there is no power, then I cannot control. Similarly, we are not the complete controllers. We are minute controllers. Just like when my hand gets paralyzed, I cannot move my hand. Every senses, there is a sense devata. Sense devata is controlling our senses. If we misuse our senses, then sense devata will not act. Then hand will get paralyzed, or we may not act properly. We have minute control, but not full control. We can give one more example. Just like a cow. In a field, if a cow is tied to a small rod with a radius of 5 kilometers, the cow can graze within the radius of 5 kilometers. Beyond that, it cannot. From this, can cow has independence in eating the grass? Yes, it has. But the independence of the cow is does the cow independence is fully is it fully independent? No. He can graze up to the 5 meters radius circumference, 5 meter radius of distance, and beyond that it cannot do. Similarly, we have also independence, but our independence is minute. And 10:11. Okay. And 10:11 it speaks, one who performs his duty without attachment, surrendering the results unto the Supreme Lord, is unaffected by sinful action. As a lotus leaf is untouched by water, the yogis abandoning attachment act with body, mind, intelligence, even with senses, only for the purpose of purification. Here, in this sloka, he is giving an analogy of lotus flower, Padma Patra Vimavasa. Here he is giving example of lotus flower. Though lotus flower is in the water, but it is unaffected by the water. Even if a drop of water falls on the lotus leaf or lotus flower, it doesn't, as soon as wind comes, it falls down. Though lotus flower is in the water, but it is untouched by water. Similarly, we may be in this material world, but we cannot be untouched. This contamination will not touch as long as we are in Krishna consciousness. When we serve under the guidance of Krishna, then this material contamination does not touch us. Just like we got COVID, we have antiseptic medicine. Like Krishna consciousness is like a antiseptic medicine. Like when you do Krishna, when you perform Krishna consciousness, then we will not be affected by the contaminations, whether trouble in this material world. And but if we are not have this antiseptic, then we will be affected by contagious diseases. Similarly, one has to be in Krishna consciousness, then he will not be contaminated by the material things in this material world. By doing that, our Atma also gets purified. Atma Suddhi happens. Similarly, how here Prabhupada gives one more example. Bank cashier. A person may be working in the bank. He knows that this money is not me. It doesn't belong to me. He acts. He works in the bank. But he doesn't feel that this money is mine. And he does his activity and come back. Similarly, when we work in a Krishna consciousness, he knows whatever things in this material world, it doesn't belong to me. Actually, these are the energies of Krishna. Then, when we have that right conception, then we will not, we have right conception. We cannot enjoy those things. If we see in connection with Krishna, we don't want to enjoy. Because Krishna is the Bhokta, he is the enjoyer. Similarly, a devotee does so many activities. Like ordinary, whatever activities performed by outside person, a devotee also does. He goes to market and he purchases vegetables. He goes to grocery shop and he purchases grocery. But just these activities are similar to ordinary person. But whereas a devotee, for what purpose he does, what is his consciousness behind doing these activities? He doesn't do for his own sense gratification. He does, I am doing for the pleasure of the Krishna. And he doesn't see that I am doing this for my own enjoyment. He sees I am doing this activity just for the pleasure of the Lord. Then he will not get entangled. Similarly, third sloka also, 12th, he says that like he says the example of given who can get peace. Here he says that who attains peace? The person who doesn't enjoy the result of work. Suppose you are cooking for the pleasure of the Lord. Like if I make any food item which I like, and then I offer to Lord, and then I eat, then I am doing for my own pleasure. Rather than that, if I cook just for pleasing of the Lord, whether I like or doesn't like, then if I offer to the Lord, then that is perfect Krishna devotional service. Then one attains peace. Otherwise, he will not attain peace. Without a person perform duty without enjoying the result of the work. That is, if he does that, he will get perfect peace. Otherwise, if one does for his own enjoyment, then he will be distressed or entangled in this material. Okay, 8:30. No? Okay, if you have any questions, you can ask. Srila Prabhupada ki